now. And we'll put that out tomorrow for anybody that couldn't make today's session. So a couple of updates from this morning, put out some amenity updates in terms of what's going on with the LC amenities. In the clubhouse, we've ordered the carpet for the veranda room. I'm sorry, for the Vista room. And we expect that to be completed in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to get that done before Thanksgiving, as we are expecting a pretty good crowd for Thanksgiving. The golf shop is actually moving into their trailer today. So the temporary trailer will be up and running by Friday when the golf course opens. That also means that the Wedgwood room will now be available, as we can book meetings or even groups in there in lieu of the social center. So we'll put a communication on that here later this week. If you need to book a card group or something like that, we will have the Wedgwood room available to do that, hopefully starting next week. In the social center, we're waiting on drywall permitting to start that drywall process and restoration process. The main pool is open at the clubhouse. I reported that last week. We are having to remove some drywall in the main pool restroom areas. That'll need to be remediated as well. Tennis courts, Kimberly feels confident about getting a couple of more courts open on the back courts later this week. Still, all courts need clay. We're hoping that delivery comes soon, and that'll even get the courts in better condition. The bocce courts are open for play as well, but we also need clay at that area. At the Island Club, we're just waiting for the installation of the new electrical outlets there, and then we'll be able to open the fitness center up for use while we wait for drywall and flooring replacement. So hopefully that happens maybe later this week. The fitness classroom has been remediated. All the drywall has been taken up there and the flooring. We're waiting for that to dry out, and then we'll start the restoration process there. The kitchen, the Tiki kitchen, will also continue to be down until we finish up the fitness classroom. Hope to have an update on that maybe by next week. We've also remediated the restrooms at the Island Club, and there are some. There's a restroom trailer now parked in the front of the Island Club for restrooms for the time being while that gets remediated. And the Island Club pool is open as well. So also put out a phone number for Lee County mosquito control. It's a free service. I know I've heard reports of mosquitoes. I think pretty much everywhere in Fort Myers is experiencing that now. So I know this group is busy. We've put in a request property wide, but we know back from normal times that it also is helpful if owners call and report service to this company. It's a free service, but the phone number was in today's update as well. Also, on the good news front, did receive a report that FEMA feels like they'll be done in the next 30 days with their first round of cleanup throughout Lee County and Fort Myers. And they also reported they will do a second round after that. So they will be coming through again. And then also, if a third pickup is scheduled after that or needed after that, we can coordinate directly with them on that. So there will be more opportunities for those that are still seeing drywall cuts and things like that happening. They'll be around to get that later. And then last but not least, just really more of a FYI food for thought in terms of the information and the communication that's out there. Just to reiterate, we are trying to provide everything we know when we know it. There's not information that we're holding on to. I know there's all kinds of speculation. Social media is certainly great for a lot of things, but it's also bad for those that want to misconstrue things or start a rumor. We're just encouraging you all, make sure you get your information from the right sources. When we have information, we will provide it. But the reality is there are some things we just don't know yet, and we're at the mercy of others to provide that to us. But once we know it, we'll get it out to you, and we'll get it out to you as soon as possible. So, all right, we'll jump into some questions here. The remediation crew turned off our AC last Monday and left a door and some windows open. It has been this way for a week. Other units nearby have their AC running. I mean, something like that. I probably wouldn't wait for a Zoom to report that. That's something you should email Lexington and your association on, and we can then get a message out to the crews to check that. So, I mean, that's an email worthy question. With the prices I'm receiving for restoration, there's a major concern that we will not fall within the under 50% value threshold for being able to build it back the way it was. Can you explain what you may know about that? Yeah, I don't. I mean, I can't give you any expert advice on that, but I did see that in that information we sent out to you in terms of value. If what they're alluding to is Lee County's rule is if you're doing, I think it's if you're doing more than 50% restoration or a project that's more than 50% of the market value of the unit, there are some other things that kick in terms of either code or that sort of thing. So I don't have anything more to share other than what we put out there. I would say if that is the case and you're finding that to be the case, then I think everybody else will be impacted as well. And maybe Lee County will put out some additional guidance on that. But I don't really have anything that I can share with you more than that. When will our AC be turned back on? I thought the AC was one big humidifier. I think we spoke on this before in regards to that there are times where they're running the dehumidifier and maybe not the air conditioning. I know I've heard reports that sometimes the dehumidifiers actually work against the AC in terms of producing extra heat and more electricity. But if you've got an AC that's not working and you know that it's not working, I mean, you can certainly send a note in, and it could be that the AC is failed. It's very possible, and we're seeing reports of that where AC units are working and then they're not working. If that's the case, we'll encourage you to make a phone call to a AC vendor and have them check it out. But everybody's a little bit different. But I mean, if your AC is not on and it hasn't been on for a while, you can let us know that. Have all the toilets and showers in Southmont Cove been removed? Will CJC restore them? If so, I don't know where they're at specifically on a building by building basis in Southmont Cove. And I know I'd mentioned last week that upon visual inspection, you know, they're trying, if they can, to save some of these things. So I don't know what's been pulled and what hasn't been pulled. But I mean, Clyde Johnson has not been contracted to restore anything. The restoration process, as we've communicated, definitely as an owner, you have the ability to handle that on your own if you want to go customize or hire your own subcontractor. But I've mentioned before, we're also trying to put together vendors that can offer a package to each community to have this done more en masse as well. But CJC may be one of those contractors, but we haven't finalized any of that to date. Can we get into unit and hang pocket doors before they hang and tape drywall? There needs to be an open wall to install the pocket doors. It makes no sense to hang drywall only to be torn out in restoration. I think that's a question that you may want to pose to your association to see how they want to handle that. I don't want to speak to them. I think that's their decision. I mean, it certainly is reasonable, your request. It makes sense to me, but I think that's something they need to handle. I think I just answered this next question about hiring a contractor for renovation, or is a group option still available? Yeah, still waiting for the vacate docs for insurance. Well, so am I. I'm still waiting for it as well. That's in our counsel's hand right now. So I did get an update from him this morning that he was working on that and one other issue, because I sent him a reminder this morning. So again, if we have it, we're going to send it to you. We're going to get it to you as soon as we have it. I understand the grout and the existing tile left behind in the first floor units is very porous. How will it be cleaned to remove the contaminants in the Cat 3 water? We've been told, and again, that this is based off of industry standards in terms of the tile and grout, that will be cleaned and disinfected. If they're not able to get it clean, then the grout will be replaced. So that's what we're being told. Really, that's all the information I have on that. I'm looking for the email or Facebook post where it was stated that the first floor units were hit with Cat 3 black water. It's needed for insurance claims. We've emailed and talked about that before. I do know, and I mentioned this last week, that we have asked OHI for something more formal. OHI is the water mapping company, something more formal specifically to the Black 3 water that's coming from the experts, if you will, and they are working on that. Actually, I heard from Clyde Johnson this morning that they have a draft they're reviewing, and hopefully we'll have that to get out to you, because I do know some of your personal insurance agencies are asking for something more formal than basically us putting it out in an email from the association. Has the drywall been tested yet by the outside contractor so they can go ahead and start the new drywall? I'm not sure about the testing, but we're waiting for permitting for drywall. So permitting applications have been submitted to all the associations that are approaching or ready for drywall. It's in Lee County's hands, and we're waiting for that permit to be approved. But drywall is on site. I mean, they're ready to hang drywall in some units that are ready for that as soon as the permit comes in. When can we expect the plumbers to fix damaged plumbing? We reported already, and I put it in the frequently asked questions, that everything will be repaired before drywall goes in. Should second, third, fourth floor condo owners have concerns of mildew, musty odors mitigating up from lower units? Man, I think if you encounter that, you certainly let us know that. I've not had any reports of that come through me, but that would be something we would definitely look into. How long can we continue to dispose of appliances by placing them at the curb? I led off today talking about FEMA. So if they've already come through your area and collected those things, they will be making a second round. Again, the report that I got was they're going to be done with the first round in the next 30 days. So it could be after that. It may be more than 30 days until the second round starts. Will the major appliances, toilets, and sinks be reinstalled prior to releasing the unit back to the homeowner? No, they will not. That we reported that. That was part of the information sent last week, that for the associations to lift the vacate order, you only will need to be through remediation, which is basically having the drywall back in place. The associations can then make the decision to lift that vacate order. And the major appliances, and we've said this really from the beginning, that really is an owner's responsibility. There is insurance coverage for those appliances, but if you don't have a working appliance, you should make arrangements to have those moved out of your unit to the debris piles so they can be picked up by FEMA. And if you want to order new appliances, you can do that. So refrigerator, built-in stove, built-in dishwasher, those all have coverage that'll be on the insurance settlement. Yeah, Bridgestone 17100. When can I expect wood floors and tub removed? I mean, again, if you guys could help us out on some of these questions. I mean, we continue to answer the same questions. We don't know the order of everything. So if you've got floors that are still in your unit, chances are those floors need to be removed by a different crew, probably with different equipment. It doesn't mean that you've been skipped. You don't need to necessarily remind us that the floors aren't out. Everything will be remediated. It's just these crews are all working special areas, and they're not all in the same order. So it is very possible that you have floors that are still in your unit, but your next door neighbor doesn't have their floors in. It doesn't mean they've been skipped. Also, when it comes to tub removal, we mentioned last week, we also put this out in the communication, that there's a visual inspection that's being done on every unit before remediation. And they are finding some situations where things don't have to be removed, even though the water mapping may have reflected substantial water intrusion, specifically areas like tubs and showers. There are some cases where that water did not get back behind that, and they do not need to be removed. So it could be that it's not needing to be removed, or it could be that they just haven't got that crew to that area yet. There was sheetrock under my vinyl floor in the den that was previously carpet. When they removed the vinyl floor, they did not take up the sheetrock. Who do we speak to about getting this removed since it was wet with the water in the unit? Again, I mean, they're coming through and they're pulling what they're identifying as needed to be pulled. And it may be that they just haven't got to that part of the project in your unit or not. What will CJC be doing and looking for when they come in to do their approval process of third-party contractors? Each association has a checklist provided by CJC, so I would ask that you reach out to them to get a copy of that. But it is a checklist of things that need to be satisfied in that inspection process. You said earlier that condos would be restored to their original state through insurance. That included walls, flooring, doors, shower trims, lower kitchen, bathroom, cabinet counters, if not working screens, plus some appliances. If there were upgrades or we wanted to upgrade, that would be at our expense. Why do we have to pay up front to restore our condo to its original state? Yeah, I think you're confusing the communication there. The coverage of insurance has always been there for everything that you just described in that question. And that's what we've always talked about, was what the coverages would be for. No one has ever said that the associations were going to come in and do the restoration. I mean, that's just not, I mean, it's not practical to think that. There's many of you that don't want your unit returned to where it was. You want something better. So to think your association can manage that is just not realistic. So coverages are there in terms of insurance coverages. And we've said that as soon as we get those insurance reports and we get those settlement checks coming in, we're committed to trying to get some of that money back to you so you can start putting down deposits or being reimbursed for deposits that you've put out. So, I mean, we're going to put money in your hands as soon as possible so you can start that process. Can you please help me understand again on a possible package deal from CJC on flooring and how long it might take to get that? It's so hard to know what to do if we're offsite because unlivable villas, or if I should hire a flooring company. Is CJC or the associations still working on a possible package deal? I think I've already answered this, but I'll answer it again today. CJC or nobody yet is contracted for any package deal. That's what we're working on right now. So I don't have a timeline for that, but we're actively meeting with contractors. Literally this week, I've got 3 meetings with contractors in the hopes of setting up a package. That the vision would be is for each community to have a separate contractor and for them to come up with a standard package for everything for each type of floor plan. And it would be the same for anybody wanting to do this. So it would be the same cabinets, the same type of flooring. I would envision potentially some options in terms of a color or style, but it would be all mass produced and mass installed. And that's one possible option. But again, nothing is confirmed. And as soon as we have that worked out, we're going to get that information to you. But that is what we're working on. Did Clyde get permits to replace sheetrock? I think I've already answered that. Not yet. The permits have been filed, but we don't have those. Are tubs and showers removed by a separate crew? Yes, they are. Mentioned that. How do we know if there's moisture behind it or not? The hall bathtub is along 2 outside walls and concern. We know that water came through the tub and shower. Again, they're doing everything they can to visually check these tubs and showers. And in some cases, they can get access to the backside. In cases that they can't, they determine whether the water got in there or not through other means. For the most part, those that took significant water are seeing these things removed, but there are times where they have confirmed that water did not get behind a tub or a shower set and it's staying in there. Why do we need a permit to install wallboard? Well, because that is Lee County's rules. That's not our rules. That's what Lee County says you need a permit for to do that. Can we have our contractor install wallboard? No, installing the wallboard, which I assume you mean the drywall or the sheetrock, is part of the remediation phase that your association is contracted out CJC for. So they are doing that work. Can we have our plumber come in prior to sheetrock and replace the shutoffs that had been cut off? Again, all of the plumbing issues that have come up through remediation will be repaired and handled prior to drywall being replaced. Do we seriously need an A&E to replace our air conditioner? Would they really not approve that? Please, you're trying to make things easier, and this would certainly help so much if we didn't have to do this. I don't even have a printer to use anymore to get this form printed. I get the frustration, but honestly, an A&E you can pick up at the front desk. I mean, literally will take you 2 minutes to fill out. And yes, that is part of the association's policies, is to have to approve any exterior improvements. It's really the only thing you need an A&E for. And I can tell you hundreds of other people have done this. A little bit inconvenient, but I don't really think it's that big of a deal. And it's just part of what your association rules are. Some of these are the same questions. I'm just skipping over them. I think I've answered them. If I skip over your question and you don't feel like I've answered it, please re-chat it. Is it okay to flip my AC circuit breaker switch to on? They switched it off when they did the lower plugs. Yeah, I think you can do that. The only thing I would suggest you do if you're going to do that, because we have, no doubt, there's been times where we've seen the crews make a mistake and not flip something back to on. But if you're going to do that, I would suggest that you go back in and check your unit after a couple hours to make sure that that system is actually working and that they didn't turn it off because the system wasn't functioning correctly. I'll offer this. Somebody's given me this information, just so you know, and I'll forward it on here. That rehanging of pocket doors does not need drywall removal. Pocket doors were taken off. The pocket door hanger still exists. So all of you wondering about pocket doors being installed, ripping out drywall, etc., I think that is coming from a very reliable source. So I feel comfortable giving it to you, but no need to worry about having to cut into drywall if you had pocket doors, because all of that equipment, if you will, is still there. When is the next SVA meeting? Next, there'll be an announcement on this. They'll do their normal communication, but Somerset Villas, I think it is next Monday at 10 a.m., I believe. Don't quote me on that, but that is the Somerset Villas meeting. Will the mirrors that were removed in my condo be replaced under the restoration crew? I'm going to try to answer this literally. The mirrors that were removed in your condo, chances are they weren't able to save them. So they should be on your insurance settlement report. So there's insurance coverage for that. But again, the restoration crew would either be somebody you hire to put that back up. So again, you have coverage for it, but there's not a crew that's been hired to come back and put up mirrors. That area will be drywalled. And then if you want to install mirrors back in there under the restoration phase, you would do that on top of the drywall. Do the HOAs really not have a schedule from CJC? Seems to me this has been going on long enough. There should be a schedule. I mean, if you're you're paying attention to kind of how things are going down, I mean, in a perfect world, we'd be working this with the first crew coming in and just working their way down, and it'd be nice and perfect, but that's not how it's working. Crews are kind of jumping around. If a unit's not particularly at a point where it can take a certain crew, they may bounce to another building, as well as we're waiting on permitting, et cetera. So no, there isn't a schedule per se in terms of what the future looks like on this. But what I'm seeing, though, at least some associations are reporting back to you, where certain buildings are, where they are as a community in whole. But I mean, there's not a schedule. If there was, we would send it to you. But honestly, at this point, mainly because of the permitting. There's no way to forecast exactly when things are going to get done or buttoned up and finished up. Yeah. Since each unit is being remediated to varying degrees, how are we to know exactly what needs to be done? For instance, the only way I know my granite countertop was broken is I saw a broken pile in a video my building captain sent me. Is CJC document what is being done and what is damages to each unit? And do we have access to that information? It's impossible to value restoration with that information. I mean, I think that's certainly a good question. I know a lot of you guys are coming here and checking on your unit every single day. So, you know, you may even have people that are reporting to you what the progress is. You know, but in the end, no, I mean, you really aren't, we really aren't going to know until we're at that process where they're fixing the plumbing and hanging the drywall, exactly what has been done. At that point in time, I don't know what the best system is going to be to get you that information. But again, if you're not on site or you're not local, that's where having a home watch or having a neighbor or having somebody help you put eyes on your property is going to be very beneficial to you. When they removed my vanity and the newly remodeled half bath, they cracked and chipped the marble. Who do we make the claim for? There's no claim you need to make for countertops. I think we said this before, that the countertops, if the cabinets were called for to be removed, then the countertops would also have insurance coverage. Even though they are doing their best to try to save things, the reality is a lot of this marble and granite, they don't make it through trying to take off and save. But our understanding is there's coverages in the insurance to replace that marble or that countertop or what have you. Will CJC put appliances back where they were before remediation? I'm not sure about that. I've seen some appliances just kind of pulled out from a wall, so I can't tell you that they're going to push them back there once the drywall's done. I'm not sure of that. And somebody says I'm on Bristol Bend and have flooring taken out and my drywall cut 2 feet, cut 2 feet out. It smells very strongly of mold. Is that a problem? I've got the dehumidifiers going and air has been on. I mean, it obviously, I mean, it wouldn't be unusual that you would smell that. It could be mold, mildew, but then that's why we've got those walls open and we're running that equipment in order to remediate any mold issues that they find. Wouldn't it make sense for CJC to be contracted to install inside doors besides drywall? I mean, I guess in a perfect world it would, but the reality is not everybody had the exact same doors. Not everybody wants the exact same hardware on their doors. I mean, it's just really not logistically feasible to come in and say, everybody, you're getting the same doors. I think the fact that some folks want to do different things. Also, I think you've got better control if you do it with your contractor, or if we have a vendor that we assist you in contracting out, that it's done in conjunction with your unit, and we're not waiting for, you know, what essentially could be 5,000 doors to show up here on site. Has the biocide been sprayed so that the drywall can be installed? I don't know. I don't believe they've done any of that application yet, because they're going to do that just prior to the drywall, but I can't confirm that. I'm not getting notices of these calls or other updates. How do I get on a list to get them? Again, if you're an owner, then you should be getting an email. We should have your email address. I would suggest you call the front desk and confirm what email we have for your account. Regarding cracks, will Somerset Villas Association check the integrity of our buildings, plus cracks from master bedroom to living room? This indicates serious damage from wind. Yes, I mean, all of the buildings will be checked from an engineering perspective to make sure. I will say this, I mean, it hasn't been unusual to get reports of you know, flooring or concrete cracking when that floor is removed. To date, those have all been checked out when they've been reported to us, and nothing structural has been found on any of those issues. They've all been normal settling or you know, more surface cracking, if you will. But yeah, that's all going to be checked. Since we're going to be required to handle most of all restoration, do we have access to any detailed floor plans and kitchen and bath cabinet schedules to help with the cabinet and trim orders? Yeah, so on the website, the club website, you sign in, go to real estate, go to your community. All of your floor plans are listed there, so you have access to that on the website if you want to download that. How long do we have to keep our Somerset Villa unlocked? I don't have an answer to that, but certainly as they continue to complete remediation, I think that request to keep your unit unlocked is going to remain in effect. Do we still have to wait until AC water heater failed before replacing? Nothing's changed in that regard. I think I've said from the early days that I just don't know what the insurance company is going to say. I know some insurance adjusters just wrote in air conditioning units on all of their claims, whether it was working or not. I just don't know what the insurance company is going to say if you decide to replace an AC unit that's actually functioning right now. And I think that the same holds true. So, I mean, you don't have to wait. It's just the fact of whether it will be actually on your insurance settlement or not, because you replaced something that wasn't broken. If units are waiting for the permits to be approved, does that mean that your spigot units or units have been sanitized with the cleanser disinfectant? Secondly, what is the process or whom do we notify of damage to bathtub when restoration crew removed it? If it's being stored on the lanai, does that mean that the plan is to have the owner have it reinstalled? I think I just answered the questions about sanitizing. I don't know anybody that's entered that part of the process yet, as that will be just before drywalling. So I don't think anybody's there yet. In terms of damage to a bathtub, our understanding is, and our hope is that if a bathtub or shower set needed to be removed, it will be on that insurance settlement. Now, if they were able to pull out a bathtub and it looked like it was salvageable, they probably kept it in the event the owner decided to use that. So I think we have to wait to confirm on these insurance reports that the bathtub was included. And then if for some reason, again, that the bathtub wasn't included on the insurance settlement report, but it ended up being that it had to be taken out, we believe there's going to be a process for you to add that to the claim, to file a supplemental claim, to be able to get funds back from that, if you will. Why can't they take care of people that live here permanently first when it comes to finishing the remediation so we can get our own contractor? Many of us don't have another place to go. I mean, I certainly understand and feel that sentiment. I think that the reality is, I mean, first off, Lexington, we have no idea who's a permanent resident or not. I know some people, definitely you live here, this is your only home, but that's not data that we have readily available. And I also think there's people that live here 8 or 9 months a year that are in the same boat where if this is the 8 or 9 months that they live here this time of year, they don't have a place to go either. You know, the best and most efficient way to attack this was to throw all the resources we have and approach this building by building, as opposed to, you know, bebopping crews around and hitting a particular unit in the building and then going somewhere else. So that was the decision that all the associations made, was to focus on getting everything done. Whose responsibility will it be to rehang doors throughout, including pocket doors? Are we also responsible for trim and repairs to the trim around plantation shutters? Yeah, everything you described there is the restoration process. Nothing would be in remediation. So it wouldn't be something that your association has contracted Clyde Johnson for. It'd be something you either would hire your own subcontractor, or as I've said a few times now, hopefully we have another option more on a bulk level that we'll be providing to those that don't want to hire a subcontractor on their own. Yeah, good comment here. I'll just summarize, but I mean, I certainly feel, I understand, because I've heard this from a lot of you, that, you know, you aren't a full-time resident, you're not here. It's tough for you to be involved in restoration. And I think here's the reality. This is your property. And at some point in time, whether you live here full time or whether you only come down January through March, when we get to the restoration process, it is going to be very difficult to manage this remotely. I mean, it can be done, but it's going to be challenging. So, I think the suggestion here is, begin to make your arrangements in order to manage this. And I know I don't have a timeline. I can't tell you that you're going to enter restoration on December 1st, but we know that point in the process is definitely coming. And I would try to make arrangements for this. I mean, the remediation, you certainly didn't have to be here for, but when it comes to restoration, that's something that you're going to have to make arrangements to be down here and manage that. My understanding is the drywall should be cut to 4 feet. Our unit was only cut to 2. Yeah, those were decisions that were made upon visual inspection. So initially, yes, we thought it was going to be 4 feet around because there was certainly some savings in putting up a full sheet of plywood or a full sheet of drywall. But as they got into some units, they realized only 2 feet needed to come out. And that was all the cut that they did. So there is some variances there in terms of how much they took out. We hired an outside company for remediation, would like to get our key back. Should we contact the front desk to have it returned? You can, and they can direct you. There are some communities or associations that have the keys. Others, we have them. So yeah, you can contact the front desk if you want. Under the premise that you just spoke about doors, then why are some associations contracting CJC to provide and install doors and we can just opt out? Correct that. Things have changed in terms of the associations I spoke of last week hiring out to do all the doors. Those associations, at least the one that I was referencing, has recently changed their position on that, and they are not hiring. They are not doing doors in bulk for everybody. So I don't know of any association right now that is doing that. I think they all understood how difficult that would be in managing that in terms of not knowing at this point in time who wants these doors, who doesn't want these doors. How long we have to file supplemental claims? Yeah, I mentioned this a week or so ago. That the last information I got is for the flood policy, that this nationally written flood policy that's part of this master coverage. Normally it's 60 days, but I read a memo back in early October where the federal government, because it's a federally run program, extended that to 365 days. So my understanding is we're going to have a year from the event date, which is September 28th, to file additional claims. And they may even extend that. I don't know, but my understanding is a year. Can I return before drywall? I would stay out while drywall is being installed. I don't know of any of the 5 associations that have any plans to terminate the vacate order before drywall is installed. Again, that's an association decision, but I don't know of any of them that are even considering lifting that vacate order until then. If we get a check from the insurance company for restoration, the AC water heater quits after, will we get another check? I think if you piece together a couple things that I just said in regards to our belief is you have a year to file a supplemental claim and that there will be a process. We believe that once you review your settlement or your insurance report, if you need to add something to that, there'll be a process for you to submit that to the insurance company. So yes, and your question is, would you get another check for the replacement? I could see that being the process, yes. Are we allowed to replace doors prior to drywall being installed? I don't have the question. I don't have the answer on that, but I'm going to assume the answer is going to be no, only because, at this point, all the associations have said, no restoration can start until remediation is complete. But if that changes, I'll let you know. So we are all waiting for drywall. Wouldn't it be wise to spot the drywall in each unit so that drywall can be hung more quickly? I'm not so sure if that's a better plan than what they're doing. But one thing I've learned is educated as I've become on this process, I always defer to the professionals that know what they're doing. And if they say this is the best way, then I'm gonna trust their advice. So. Yeah, on the website, there's a moisture damage report, but it doesn't indicate it was Cat 3 water. I mentioned that before. We have asked OHI, and I believe they've gotten a draft of the report to Clyde Johnson, and they're reviewing it for something a little bit more substantial in regards to the classification of this water being Cat 3, which I know for a lot of you all, for insurance purposes, even FEMA purposes, you need that documentation. So we're working on getting that to you. Another tropical system coming this week, would they make arrangements to get up the debris more quickly? I wish we could tell them to do that, because there's definitely concerns. I do know that we met with Clyde Johnson this morning and actually talked with him over the weekend about making sure we have as much as we can shored up. But in terms of the debris, we really don't have any control over when they're coming to pick that up. But again, another day today, I've seen multiple trucks in the community. So. Our refrigerator is not working. Should we see if it can be fixed or just replace it? That's really your call on how you want to handle that. I mean, we know that refrigerators are part of the claim. So if you can get it fixed, I guess, if your insurance settlement calls for replacement and you get it fixed, then that's just going to be a little bit more of the funds returned to you and not having to outlay for a new fridge. The association is not replacing doors. How do we order the same type doors? My understanding is the doors that are in there, I don't believe is anything custom. They're all standard. At least that was my understanding when I was asking about this, when the associations were talking about it. So this would be definitely something you'd want to work with your contractor on in order to have as part of restoration. I don't see any more questions there, so I'll give you guys maybe another minute or two before I have to run. Okay, guys, we'll get this up and running. Hang on a minute. Here's one. Has there been any discussion among your peers in the community, management industry, about lobbying the local state government to streamline or make easy the permitting process? There has. Lee County's a tough one. I will say that Clyde Johnson's group does a lot of business in Lee County. They have their own contacts. Sometimes situations like these, it's who you know and not what you know. So I'm confident that they're going to push these permits through quickly and stay on Lee County. But to date, certainly we've had discussions about that, and it'd be great to be able to put pressure on somebody. But at the end of the day, Lee County is going to process these permits the way that they process them. And historically, they've always been a little bit late in their permitting process. We hope that they go quicker than normal, but we really won't know until we know. So. Okay, guys, everybody have a good day. We'll get this up on YouTube and post the link tomorrow morning. Thank you.